something like I brought in an item, so we can just do it outside of the room.
And they would have to business like so the guys around there just like they're doing that. Like there are some things around here like there's this old like old antique
Oh yeah, on the inside. It's awesome.
I'm Hannah. I'm the founder of Built in Kind.
I'm Jono Everett. I'm a furniture designer and maker and more a sculptor, and I co-manage the soap factory here with 11 artists and lots of visiting artists. We were lucky enough to get an invitation to be part of the new annual arts festival. So we kind of really wanted to present something completely different, because arts festivals tend to always be music and theatre and people being an audience to the event, whereas we wanted to really have people take on a hands-on role and be immersed in the project and actually build the project themselves. I think that we needed to come up with a concept where we'd effectively laid out the artistic direction of the piece, and people could come and contribute to that without having to worry too much about looking at the big picture, that they could make their contribution within a short space of time. And I guess effectively we had 2 sessions per day over 7 days. So with all of the inductions and everything, it came down to perhaps like a 2.5 hour hands-on making session, which is reasonably limited to try and introduce people into some woodworking technique and spatial and sculptural design concepts. So given all of that, we weren't expecting them to also come up with a big picture view of what the overall artistic expression of the piece would be. I guess from my mind, I was really interested in have something that was of a scale that would make sense to the space that it was going to be exhibited at, but also something that was slightly zoomorphic in its form, that it felt like it was alive, but it was also speaking. The piece is about memory, and all these voices were going to contribute to it through their hands and through their etchings. So it was really important to me that it had that form, as if it's like a big trumpet or a horn.
Yeah, I think the horn shape, or like this cone shape, it was almost like a hurricane. It's sort of like this form that almost picked up all these old furnitures from like our pasts. Were sort of swept up into this form, but there's also like a horn, like a voice might be. Like if you could turn a voice or a memory into a diagram, it's probably that shape, and it's emergent, similar to the emergent form of the finished piece, which is like, it starts very fine and then grows up into something that you can like really look into and look through. And it became this thing that is both clad, but also still, porous, and you still look through it and peer through your own sort of composition into the backside of someone else's composition across the piece. And it's a really beautiful scale, I think, in that you can both stand back from it and appreciate it as an entirety, but also come up really close to it and read into people's stories and the filigree, and the detail, both of what people had etched in the stories that they were telling, but also the beautiful nature of timber, and that we often lack in, I guess, modern furniture, is that beautiful grain. So I think there's a beautiful relationship between the grain of our individuality and the grain of our stories and the grain of our memories, but also the grain of our material, and that language was really quite cohesive across the piece.
I think that when it was produced, I was pretty overwhelmed about how that concept really came through, that the scale, the movement, or sort of, I guess, lack of movement, its sort of sleeping body, and the quietness of all the etchings and the details really, embodied that concept beautifully. And at its mouth, I guess, the speaking part, it's quite teethed and kind of a bit disturbing. It's got a darkness to the whole thing, so not all memories are good. Memories can be quite confronting, and I think there's a lot of etchings in there that have really a deep dive for a lot of people, and they're probably quite triggering. So I think that slightly disturbing nature of it, and we've had a piece of music, a soundscape written for it, and it's a very slow melodic piece, but it's also got quite dark elements, and I think particularly at night time, when it's lit internally, all of those elements worked beautifully together to give this kind of, generated a really sort of overwhelming mood of homeliness, or something to do with warmth, but it's all slightly left of kilter. I think it's a slightly disturbing piece as well. I think a lot of children that looked at it were a little bit scared of it, which I do love, but it's good to keep it edgy, and I think that offered a lot of intrigue too for the viewer.
It's like journaling, right? It can be cathartic to sit in reflection. And for me, at least when I make, and I'm also thinking while making, it's like a somatic exercise. Like your body finds great peace, and it's like a meditation, both to be physical and to be reflective. So I hope, and I imagine people took and found peace in their bodies. It's not very often that we get to be the artist. Artists know what that's like, and that's why we make art. It's almost like we have storytelling, we have emotional processing, we have something to say, and that's coming out through our bodies. Most people don't get that chance. So it was a beautiful chance for them to explore that very physically. It was like construction therapy as well as art therapy for some, but also this incredible level of empowerment. We worked with people who had never picked up a drill before, had never ever stepped foot inside a workshop. So I think that they took a lot of confidence and pride at their own capacity in this space.
I just wanted to acknowledge, I might have touched on it before, but how incredibly brave it was of people to step up and come and do this exercise. I think what we deduced quite quickly is they had absolutely no idea what they were in for or what they were meant to be here for, but it was only $20 for a half a day, so didn't have too much to lose. But I've just got to acknowledge their just incredible generosity in having a go and being brave, and the incredibly beautiful thoughts and memories and their sensitivity to the artistic direction of morphology. Not only was it courageous, it was really generous.
Together we were just a reflection of the world, often beautiful, but never perfect.
I'd really like to pay my respects to the Awabakal and Worimi people on whose country that we build and create and teach on. And I guess especially pay homage to, I guess, the fact that as makers we're we're literally creating with country, and the timber that we use was once forests that have been taken from their place, and we have such great responsibility to work with that material really responsibly and imbue as much justice and storytelling into that process as possible. I think that's the greatest act of respect that we can create as makers and pay as makers to country and to our incredible Indigenous teachers and leaders in this region.
Time rewinds on the folds. Remember the happiness shared.